I was sitting here eating some lunch and God gave me a word. He's saying that these people, we can't even blame them because they're controlled by Satan. They don't realize it, but they are. Now I'm going to say, these people think that they're not controlled by Satan because they're like, well, I do this and I do that and I have a boring life and this and that. But here's the thing. If you're committing any type of a sin, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we all sin, but I mean, like, say you're gossiping at work about your work colleagues, or you're gossiping about family members behind family members' backs, like, things that you really shouldn't be doing, or you're telling lies to try to make yourself look better because you're so full of pride, or maybe you're stealing in some way, whether it's financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, some way you're stealing from somebody else, especially if these sins are committed against a good person, like someone that doesn't do these things, they're righteous. If you drink or you're doing any type of drugs or you're, just anything that would be considered sinful. God says it doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 sins, 10 sins, 20 sins. It doesn't matter. What these people are doing is trying to bring down the righteous people. So everybody sins, nobody's perfect, but there's people that are righteous where they've given up addictions, they've stopped gossiping, they've stopped hanging out with people that bring them down, even if it means being alone. They've made personal life changes to try to take steps in the right direction to change things around for themselves. And these other people can do this too, but they choose not to. So they want to try to pull those people down, all of Satan's working behind them, but then turn around and say, oh no, I don't have Satan in me. Satan's not doing nothing for me. I'm not evil. I'm a good person. But you're not a good person if you're committing any one, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 5, 1 single thing, any of the infractions I just listed and or more, right? Even if you have a negative attitude or, a negative disposition or something like that, again, that's not being righteous, right? So, picture two people, just say both are sinners. One steals and one lies, just say. The thief or the liar, doesn't matter. They decide, you know what, I'm going to stop doing this, even though it's not maybe a bad sin. I'm not a devil worshiper, but it's not right what I'm doing. They wake up and see the light and they stop doing it. The other person that's the latter, the liar or the thief, they keep doing what they're doing, their infraction, and then try to bring the person down that's stopping doing what they were doing in the first place, right? So we started out with two unrighteous people. One started to become righteous, the other stayed unrighteous. That's fine. We're each to our own. But the unrighteous are trying to bring the righteous down and make it like they're better than the righteous. But how are you better than the righteous? That's like a thief or a killer trying to say they're better than somebody who's out on the outside, right? Or like somebody who's in jail who's committed a crime trying to say they're better than someone who hasn't. It's the same type of mindset, but it's not looked at in that type of a fashion, in that lawful criminal way, because it's in a mental fashion. So it's like a spiritual, mental, emotional type of capacity, right? But these things manifest themselves on the physical, on the outside. It's not just kept inside, right? We see people lying. We see people putting out negative energy, things like that, right? So it's internal, but it becomes on the external, right? So again, these people are being controlled by Satan. So the criminal in jail was controlled by Satan when he did the acts, but the person that's on the outside thinking they're not controlled by Satan, that they're holy and they're righteous and they're perfectly fine, they're a great person, they're committing these negative things. Now, it was one thing when that person was committing these negative things and the other person they're trying to bring down that's now righteous was committing these negative things, then it could kind of go par for par. But because that other person has decided to turn away from unrighteousness, and they're not perfect, but they try to be as righteous as they can, now the other person is not leaving them alone. They're still trying to bring the righteous person down. So they have two options. They can either just be quiet and let the righteous person try and be righteous, or they can themselves become righteous, right? And put away their unrighteous ways, but they're choosing not to do that. So in God's opinion, they are ran by Satan. It doesn't matter if they work, if they pay their bills, if they're good parents to their children, if they, give to charity, if they, try their hardest to stay away from cigarettes or their hardest to stay away from their pills or whatever it is they do, God still views them as ran by Satan and an unrighteous person, just in their ways, just in the way they conduct their day-to-day lives, because they conduct their life, their physical life, and their mental, emotional, and spiritual life in an unrighteous way. Then on top of that, they're trying to bring down those that are living more righteous, that aren't committing the infractions they are, right? So God sees these people as ran by Satan and also as hypocrites, because there's everything that they're trying to bring the righteous person down for is things they did. So say, for instance, say they're sitting there talking about the righteous person, like, oh, the righteous person lied this one time, I remember this, but that particular person, they themselves are a big liar. Or the righteous person, I know they used to drink, they used to go out, they used to do this, but that person then and of themselves, they used to do hardcore drugs at one point in time, right? So how are you to talk about somebody's past? It's irrelevant to anyone and to God especially if you're trying to put down somebody who, say you're trying to put down somebody that lies or has lied, but you yourself have lied numerous times and stolen. So if you've committed 7 out of 10 crimes and the other person's only committed 2, how are you better than them, right? And that's how God sees it. He sees it as like, okay, first of all, sit down. You're being too prideful. You're in no way to talk about other people. You're just not. And second of all, it'd be one thing if you were turning over a new leaf and then you were talking about people. I could maybe swallow that. But you're not. You're talking about the people that are, and if you were talking about people that were not righteous, they were unrighteous sinners like you, then that'd be one thing. But you're committing 3 infractions in God's eyes because, for one, you're not sinless. You're still committing your sins. You're not righteous. You're still unrighteous. And you're trying to put down somebody. So that's one thing. Then the second thing is, then you're trying to put down somebody who is trying to be righteous and trying to do the right thing. That's number 2. Then number 3, the things that you're putting that righteous person down for are the very things that you yourself have either done or are currently doing or will do in the future. And in every single case, it's done worse. So say somebody's trying to come at you and accuse you of being a gossip, just say. The person that's accusing you is 10 times the gossip you've ever been or ever will be. Say someone's trying to say that you stole something or you lied 2-3 times or whatever. That person has stole 10 more things than you ever could, and they've told 100 lies. You're like a 2 out of 10 on the liar scale, and they're like an 8. So whoever is accusing you, first of all, is ran by Satan, whether they agree with that or not, or think they are or not. And second of all, they are guilty of the very thing that they are trying to accuse you of. And third of all, they can try and deceive themselves and others around them and make themselves and others think that they're this righteous person, but they're really not. God knows who they really are, and judgment is coming.